Thank you.
The rare thing is just wanted to acknowledge Jim Spock's retirement. I mean, you guys know him as a special ed teacher here. I know him as the relationships that he formed with the kids. He was the kind of guy who was in middle school. He would still, you know, these guys in the high school, they would still talk to him. He was just a nice, steady, calm presence in the students' lives. I wanted you guys to know that in case you didn't know. So that was all I wanted to say. Thanks.
I saw him on the way. I saw him on the way when I was coming in. He was speaking. Lisa.
So, yeah, and I wanted to recognize David's name. So I actually had somebody that was close to her write up something because I figured that would be better. So tonight we'd like to recognize and celebrate the 28 years of dedication that Jamie Keene has provided to thousands of Commonwealth students over the years. Jamie began her teaching career at the old Roseanne building, teaching 7th and 8th grade English, as well as 8th grade social studies. As a teacher here in our new building, Jamie was taught 7th and 8th grade English, as well as high school introduction to drama and theater. In addition to her teaching responsibilities, she currently serves as the liaison chair for the liaison committee and middle school yearbook advisor and a mentor for new teachers. Throughout her career, she also served as advisor, teacher liaison for the middle school newspaper, Diversity Club, Shakespeare and Company. She has served as a member of shared decision making. And for many years, she has supported and guided many students, teachers, as their cooperating teachers. Jamie has certainly been a wonderful role model over the years for all of her students, as well as for her colleagues. Her positive attitude, kind demeanor, and strong belief in education will certainly continue to resonate throughout our campus long after Jamie's retirement. And it is true, she is a force to be reckoned with in this building. She is kind, she knows the children, she meets their needs. So I just want to recognize her.
Good evening. And I'm also with Career and Technical Education Content Coordinator. February is National Seafood Month, and I wanted to highlight some of the great things that our department is doing. In Miss Edelman's Global Gourmet class, they are finishing up authentic Mexican cuisine, and now working on learning about authentic French cuisine. In Mr. Mallory's construction class, they are transforming shipping pallets into schools. Miss Janito's financial literacy class, students are enjoying a simulated digital online banking program. In Ms. Barbados' financial literacy class, students are working on growing a business that culminates in a Shark Tank project. And last but not least, Ms. Monaco, a CTE and our FFA advisor, would like to add that in addition to November being National CTE Month, it's also National FFA Week. And kids have worked really hard for agriculture and FFA. 6 of our 12 FFA students qualified at districts to compete at sub-states. They also did a service project today where they wrote thank you letters to farmers, faculty, staff, and the board. On behalf of FFA and the CTE department, thank you for supporting our CTE programs.
I would like to give this kind of appreciation for my students. Thank you, Amy.
I love when they come about what the school does. So I really appreciate it. Before we get started, I'm sorry, I meant to do this after the pledge, but if we could just stand and have a moment of silence for Frank Joss, who just recently passed away. He's been with the school district, oh, he was 55 years, correct? Like that?
55 years, 33 teaching, 22 in the athletic office.
please. Thank you. Motion for the acceptance of the agenda. Motion, please. Joe, second. Alicia? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. I need a motion for the acceptance of a consensus agenda. Motion. Ron, second. Heidi. I do have to call your attention to, let's see. On B, for Nancy Kraft Hoffman, the effective date is not 3/1/2023, it's 2/28/2023. So on top of the two people that were spoken about earlier, by their co-workers, Jamie and Jim, we also have Dave Simmons, maintenance worker who's retiring. And as we found out last meeting, Dr. Howard is also retiring here. So congrats to them and wish them all the best. Retirement is fun. I think I did have one, Matthew Osterhaus is going to be the community outreach. What exactly is that? Like, what is that role or what is that?
So he's in a technology support role,
Okay.
in case that you need technology out at any of the places they're planning to go. We hope that Mark may have mentioned some camps that he goes support the efforts of the other folks that are in the school.
Anybody have anything else? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, we have presentations. We have the budget overview. Dr. Howard and Sabelle.
I thought I'd chime in and started talking about it, but I can. I'm going to go first. All right, so one of the first things that we look at for planning purposes is enrollment and where we stand. So in front of you folks, you find a 11 by 17 sheet of paper with about 15 years worth of data. Let's see if I can blow it up a little bit here. A little better. So this actually starts with 13-14 and ends with 2029, 2030. And I'm going to show you another different view of this. They're not exactly the same because of when we take the data points, but certainly what I want you to take notice of is the total number of kids here, district total. This is pre-K-12, and we've taken out the pre-K, and we get these totals that are 1492, 1454, 1402. A little bump up here, which is an anomaly, 1376, 1309. So we've got a steadily decreasing trend. This actually correlates with the average age of a person in Columbia County, which is approximately just short of 50 years of age. And as we know, those are not prime childbearing years. Right, Ms. Moore? Health class. So we have an older population and less children being born, thus less coming here. We have some other factors that we look at: the number of homeschool kids, the number of kids that go to private schools from our district. So what does this mean? And this is how we start to talk about sections of kids, talk about averages and the sizes of class, and how we need our faculty and what other needs we need to provide for students. So This projected enrollment on the next slide is going to be slightly different, but these right here are actual numbers that I put in as of yesterday. Okay, so you can see the pre-K 6 going down. See the secondary going down, and then of course the totals. So I'm going to take a look at this one. This may be a little bit more clear. Now, again, all of these are exercises. There are some assumptions that we make. And I'll show you some of these. So the assumptions are in the high school that we have core classes and the kids are approximately taking 5 classes. So in this type of exercise, we usually include foreign language. Okay. So you can see for our current staffing purposes, our average size of classes, our sections, our total number of students, and then I have taken out the self-contained students, the students who have IEPs that are in the 12-1-1 classes. Okay. And you get to see averages here. And this is really the question mark as to the number of kids retaking or who need to get certain classes to graduate and electives. So this is where I put question marks kind of over in here for staffing decisions, because we're in the process of looking at that now as we form a 9-period day schedule, like we had pre-COVID. Okay, COVID, we had smaller classes. We use our grant fundings to be able to pod kids a little more, and we're getting away from that. Right. So as you can see, this pre-K number here, that comes from what we have on our census. I expect this number to go up, but I don't know how much. I did change it on the other diagram I just showed you. I was a little bit more positive. I put 44 in there because we have 44 this year. Okay, so this K number, we currently have 44, but I do expect it. We have another 7 on the census. I do expect this number to go up as well. As kids, parents realize that we're doing a lottery. I believe right now we only have 11 or 12 for the lottery, but it's still early yet. Okay, that are handed in paperwork, but we do have registrations for all of the pre-K kids for next year. So with that said, if we're looking at what the averages are and possible reductions due to attrition and some of the grants going away, we're going to have some tough decisions to make and how we move forward. But certainly these averages are pretty good for numbers of kids in sections. Okay. Fact is, we're getting smaller. Well, I don't know. I know of 2 official resignations. I'm expecting 2 more, but it also depends in what areas that they come through. Because then we may need people to fill those areas. So we had hired quite a few people on the American Rescue Funds and what is the other acronym for the other funds? And those are running out now. So many school districts, not Conic Hills, but many school districts now are going to be faced with a little bit of a fiscal cliff. They have to make the decisions to pass that on to the taxpayer or not. Conic Hills is good. We're not in that position. we're actually in the other position where we're probably going to be faced with making some tough decisions. But we're looking at what the needs are, we're evaluating them. The high school has started their scheduling process. And we hope to have more information in a couple of weeks. Okay, any questions on that? All right.
You can go to the website, you know, the budget and voting questions to the website.
I'd like to think that all the kids came from my budget presentation. You're in for a real treat.
Where do you want to go?
Budget and voting.
I just want to show you a couple of things. First, what a great job that the communications team of Ashley, Eileen, and Alexis are doing on the website. I don't know if you had a chance to look at this section, but they have really updated it with a lot of new information. Yes. And so we start off by making sure that voting information is right at the forefront. So folks that go on the website and the community have that information every year. You can scroll down. And then this is the placeholder for all of the new budget documents for the new year that we're working on. And then the current year, 22-23, is still available. Keep going. Right here, current year budget information. So you can click on that, and that will bring you to the current year information. All that's still available publicly, and we continue to update it as necessary. And then there is information about prior years still available. All of our audits are public and on the website. So I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that and share that information with you. But we'll start here. Just take a look at state aid detail. Normally, we would have shared this information with you in January, because the budget was late coming out. The executive budget disclosure, and you do have this in front of you as well, a printed copy. But we like to take a look at current year base aid payable compared to projected estimated aid. So the big thing in the news has been that Governor Hochul supplied a lot more foundation aid to schools for next year. And we see that we do have a projected increase of 3% of foundation aid, about $239,000. So that's a great shot in the arm for us, because generally we are viewed as a wealthy district, a land wealthy district. So we don't usually get the benefit of those foundation aid increases. Over the years, we've seen like a 0.25% usually. You remember that most of these aids here are expense-based aids. So they're paid to us based on what we spent in the year prior. So that information is filed on the district's ST3. And some of these aids that we don't get, like hardware and technology aid, that's an example of how our land wealth negatively. We don't get any aid for that. This is the first year that we've seen zero high cost excess aid. Lucy and I, the district treasurer, diving into that. But generally, this is the aid that we receive on high cost placement, either here in the building or that go to school at West Street. So generally, every school district has a high cost threshold. So a few years ago, we had to spend over $38,000 in order to get any high cost aid. That number is now over $60,000. If that's over $60,000 on a child, be eligible for any kind of high cost aid. Private excess cost aid, this aid is the result of private education placements where we have students. And then building aid, this generally fluctuates every year as part of our debt service schedule. And so I wanted to also show you where we are with the federal COVID funding, COVID federal relief aid that Neil was talking about. So last year, the CARES Act 2 money was available between 2021 and 2023. So that expired this year. Okay, so you'll see for next year, we have zero for the CARES 2 funds, the American Rescue Plan money, and there's also a page on our website dedicated to this and the funding plan and everything that we've spent on it.
That money is available for next year. This year, we're scheduled to spend just over $1 million of that money. We had about $3.1 million total. And then next year, we'll spend approximately the final $1 million. A lot of that money is tied up in the staff that we created with those funds. We do not have a community schools set aside. And then the additional UPK funding that came last year, right at the last minute, I think in April of the budget process, that is available again. However, we're not getting more money. This is the maximum amount we can get, $302,400. Generally, that money was for schools to expand their UPK programs or build UPK facilities if they didn't have space for it. You only get approximately $600 per child in UPK funding. We were already funding 1 to 2 sections of UPK every year with local dollars. We previously only got $97,000 in UPK funds. That wasn't even enough to fund one section, but the school board put their support behind a locally funded UPK program. So we've always had 2 to 3 sections, and we'll continue to have those 2 to 3 sections in subsequent years. We just won't be able to use all the money. So this is all we can use this year, is the $238,000 of it. And unfortunately, that money cannot be used towards a 3-year-old program. That was possible, but it's not available. All right, so the next update that we'll get on this information is probably the legislative budget, which I don't. Feel free to give me a call. Notice transportation aid under $600,000 for the first time. That used to hover around $800,000 or $900,000. The function of a couple of things. One, getting smaller. 2, our transportation aid ratio is going down. Every other aid ratio, and that is connected to land wealth, enrollment, inflation. I'll show you a little bit about that in a minute, but I was impressed to see that number decreasing. Right? Okay, so we can go to the okay, so we'll take you through the tax cap formula as it stands. You also have this information in front of you. I do expect this to change a little bit, but not a whole lot. But the theme here is inflation. So it is coming through in our formula as well. So what you have at the top of this slide is the budget and tax levy that was set for this current school year, 22-23, and it was a 1% tax levy increase. So that becomes now in the formula becomes our prior year budget number that we build next year's tax levy on. So the tax cap formula is a function of many factors. The first one is the tax base growth factor. This year, that's 1.75%. That's a 0.82% increase. So that is physical infrastructure change in the school district over the year. That means additions, that means new homes, that means increased assessments due to development. So the law allows school districts to increase their tax base based on those changes. So we can increase at 1.75% right there. And then the levy can be increased by the allowable growth factor. So we know that that's either the inflation factor or 2%, whichever is less. So again, for another year, we're at 2%, but the inflation factor was hovering around 7% up until this was set. We have carryover funds that can be used in this year's tax levy of $393,589. So because we only taxed 1% last year, this is the money that we left on the table, so to speak. And so that is available in this year's formula if we choose to use it. It's use it or lose it. You can use it, use all of it, use some of it, none of it. And we've had that happen in the past. We have no current year capital exclusion, which means that we are not paying more debt than we are getting buildings. So therefore, we don't need to tax for any capital exclusions. And therefore, you'll see that our maximum allowable levy increase amount, which is completely within the
Can
legal
you
limit.
hold on a minute? If whoever has that phone that's singing, could you please shut it off? Thank you. Sorry.
That's okay. So our maximum allowable levy limit, which is completely within the legal limits of the tax cap formula, ends up being 5.3% for 23-24.
So, this growth factor seems very high to me.
It is high.
So, just off the top of my head, guys, I can't remember another year in the past 15 years it was this high. So,
We've had years where it's been together.
so this to me.
What was it last year?
I think it was around point eight last year, 0.8 or 0.9. Pardon
So,
me?
yes.
Yes, and
Yes.
this is where a lot of that development that resulted from COVID is starting, that data lags a little bit as well. So,
That's some 400,000.
I would say that's a big part of it. I would say that this is also linked to new construction.
Yeah, that's what Alicia was just saying. There's been a lot of building going on in this area.
And new construction that is significant in the cost of that new construction. Big projects.
you go to the next slide. So we'll break down the formula in a second, but this is just the history of the inflation factors since the inception of the tax cap formula in 2012. So the orange line is 2%, always measured against that number. So, you know, you remember the years where it was below 2% or less.
I don't know.
Good.
So just remind you how carryover is calculated. So there are two calculations. It is either again, we're talking about our current year, 22-23 is now called the prior year in the world of the tax cap formula. So you take the prior year levy limit, which is what we could have levied, and you subtract what we actually levied at the 1% increase. Okay, so that's what we did not tax. Or you take the levy limit that we could have taxed and multiply it by 1.5%, and whatever is less is what you can carry over. So that's why our carryover number is $393,589. Again, you can use all of it, none of it, a portion, but it is only available as you go the 23-24 levy. And so just breaking down that levy limit and the pieces again. So we take the prior year tax levy at the 1% increase, multiply it by the tax base growth factor. So that accounts for all of the new construction, increased assessments, remodeling, et cetera. That gives us an adjusted levy for growth. We would have had to subtract any exclusions that we took in the prior year. We didn't have any, so that number is 0. If that number carries through to now, multiply it times the allowable growth factor, which is 1.02. And for the first time ever, we have a pilot next year. So again, talking about new construction, the clock is based on County Route 27 in Churchtown, Clobber. Okay, they apply to the IDA and to the town for a pilot, which is a payment in lieu of taxes. So that property is valued at about $2.2 million. And what they would rather do is make smaller payments to the municipality, town, the county, and the school district over a period of 10 years, rather than pay full tax in exchange for the economic development benefits associated with the project. Okay, the IDA approved that pilot agreement. So in the first year, we will receive $8,250 as a payment from the Clock estate. So we have to subtract that from whatever we might tax, okay, because it's almost separate. Probably wondering what would they have paid if they were taxed?
A lot.
Okay, it would have been about $50,000 when I looked at the data. And they'll pay increasing amounts over 10 years. So it's, I have the schedule in my file, but it ranges now in 10 years between $8,000 and $43,000 by the time it's all done. Then they go back to paying the full value of the taxes at that point. However, that $2.2 million of property value stays on the books in the town of Clobber and will be, redistributed. Thank you.
To all of us.
All of the other taxpayers.
Thank you.
So that money still has. So we'll carefully keep an eye on that and what the impact is to the residents. But that pilot payment comes out of the formula. Very over in giving us a new levy limit amount. Get us to that 5.3% number.
So we did visit Clock Estate, and it is a brandy, cider, wine type of facility with a restaurant, hospitality. The plan is to have it be a sort of wedding destination location. We are hoping to get some educational value out of it. And it is, I believe, scheduled to open in April or May. Goes according to their plan. Coming 27. So right at the beginning, so you would come down 9H and take a left. County Route 27, and it's the new building on the Carroll.
And so you are aware, school districts are not allowed to participate in the negotiation of pilot programs with the IDA. Only the IDA and the something that Dr. Barr has fought against for many, many years. So essentially, we're just served with an agreement.
But I think they are changing that because in our latest NISBA publication, they did talk about that,
Yep,
they
you're
are
right.
trying.
Yeah, NISBA finally did take that up.
Yeah, they need to. This is wrong.
So
This is just wrong.
the argument that because we have fought against other pilots, and I view it, and several other community members view it as taxation without representation, so to speak. That we have no say in this, and I'll use the term corporate welfare, which in New York State, in my opinion, is a problem. So we wanted to make sure that these pilots are used appropriately, and Conic Hills is certainly the most vocal school district in the county when we go to these meetings.
So remember, there are two parts to the formula. The first part is the levy limit. The second part is the maximum allowable tax limit, which would come into play if we had any of those capital exclusions, meaning we were paying more debt service than we were getting in building aid. That doesn't apply to us this year, so we don't have the second half of the formula at all. So this is also in front of you. So at this time, as of February 15th, we have 3 options and anywhere in between. But those would look like our potential tax levy increase for the year. And this coupled with our state aid would be, you know, the budget number that we're shooting for and that we're working on. Told you to keep in mind that transportation number. Just wanted to share with you again. Transportation aid is a combination of tied to enrollment and inflation. So our combined wealth ratio is how wealthy we are viewed as a school district compared to New York State. The New York State average is 1. We are now 1.802. So that number continued to rise for us. You know, a couple of years ago, it was 1.5. So our WADA resident weighted average daily attendance, that's number of students that is measured over the years as a function of enrollment. So not just how many kids are in the district, but how many kids are here every day. That's why we say attendance matters. That our WADA number is down 87 students. So our transportation to aid ratio is 0.191. So that's one of the reasons why that number is coming down. So we spend all of that money on transportation. It could be aided as high as 90%, and we get.
So when you look at how we get reimbursed by Questar or from other state aid sources, we're just about the lowest around.
Do you know, have you heard anything as foundation aid being looked at? I mean, I know we keep talking about this every year. We tell NISBA that we want them to advocate for us. Do we see any movement on that, or foundation aid formula being?
Not for us. We are as fully funded as we're going to be. Because they do not look at.
Well, they don't look at the well.
They don't look at the makeup of your student population or the families living in your district.
Right.
They just look at
The land. They need to change.
The winter
That needs to change.
Used to be on
They
the
just get disgusted.
Friday, they started to talk about some of this. It has to really get a little stronger.
No, that's good. No, it's good.
And they didn't really separate out, you know, New York City and Long Island from some of the upstate areas. And they need to really take a look.
So we've advocated over the years for an income-based
Right, that's what it should be.
as opposed to
This is
a
ridiculous.
land value. But we continue to, that would take so much work and an act of the legislature and Just don't think people have the appetite for that.
Because right now, as a land, well, one number coming from your tax returns, and the tax returns of the second homeowners who are indicating on their tax returns that they live in the Conic Hills and school district. So their income is then tied to our school district.
Correct.
Anya, would you want to talk about the budget initiatives? I can share with you that the budget committee has met twice, and they've done an awful lot of work looking at these requests that have come from staff. Everyone has the ability to submit a budget request through their building principal or supervisor, and they're very thoughtfully reviewed by the board. There are some items on here that were submitted and approved. There were some items that were submitted and approved that are not on here because we determined that we have funding available this year that will take care of it. So if someone here sees something that they submitted and it's not on the list, it's because we're going to take care of it with current year dollars.
So for the past several years, or more than the past several years, we come up with this wish list, and we try to base it upon the goals of the Board of Education and what we think kids need. We've started to replace furniture in different parts of the building, cafeterias, some of the other classrooms. So the first couple here are related to that, continuing to do that. A lot of these items we have here are left over from Aquanic and Rojan, and want to make it physically appealing to the space and modernize. So we're updating in a rotation type of way some of the furniture. So even though this is a big number here for kindergarten and first grades, we are looking at these numbers. We just received some more information recently that will go into the committee to take a look at. So then also CSE, self-contained classroom furniture replacement. See up there, some of the I guess furniture in some of the faculty rooms is I had thrown out, and so we're going to update that to make it a little bit more appealing and user friendly. The music department has asked for some replacements of instruments, which we feel is appropriate. The pre-K 6 music department has also asked for a few items, and a sound system feels appropriate. We put in an author visit to start those up. Those are great motivational things for the kids and the faculty to come together around. I'm sure you've seen some of the presentations in the past. So that's well worth it. The professional development that we've started on culture and climate, we're going to continue, and that also includes Questar 3, and this is going to be a similar amount next year for you to take a look at as well. This was a multi-year project that we're involved in. We are noticing wear and tear on our scores table as it's moved around a lot. We bump into it, and the shot clocks. If you go to other school districts, they have some nicer equipment than we do, and so we are looking to upgrade that. Technology, our big PAC, Wildham PAC projector is showing some wear and tear, and we need to. I know it's a big number, $8,000, but this is where we need more assemblies. This is where we show things. This is kind of one of the gems of the school. Okay, and technology-wise, some updated 3D printers, and of course, the smart boards. We continue those rotations to give our children and faculty the latest technology. Our automated external defibrillators replacements. They're kind of old now. The technology has come along, and as you know, we used them recently. So our gym floor is starting to flake and peel, and if you've gone to some of the other school districts that have had their floors redone recently, they've got some new logos. They've got the 3-point line, which is a different color. And so,
When was the last time we had that done?
well, we, Nick, you have an answer?
It was done in the capital project that spanned from like 2009 to 2011.
Was that like when we did the bleachers?
We did 2 sets of bleachers, but yes, it was when we did the high school, middle school bleachers, not when we did the elementary ones that came later.
So, we are looking to update that. The padding around, the gym is getting a little torn, getting a little ragged. So we're looking to upgrade that. And then a couple of milk coolers. One actually is down right now.
I thought that the things. Okay,
No,
sorry.
And then we have a bigger number for transportation and B&G. Our Traverses have approximately 200,000 miles on it, aging. We're looking at a 30-passenger bus, and we need say in there. Okay, and those, of course, are going to be part of a proposition.
So just a couple of other notes. This professional development here has largely been funded by those American Rescue Plan grant funds. So as that's running out, district is absorbing that. However, when I reconcile the grant at the end of this year, if I can move some of this back to the grant, I would do that. So that number could change. Doesn't mean that we're cutting it, cutting the PD. It just means we're moving the funding source. And then kind of an asterisk next to the vehicle number here, because as you are aware, we have the $3.95 million grant from the VA for 10 buses, $375,000 per bus, but they're quoting about $388,000 right now. So the district will have to subsidize the difference in cost. So this number is likely to increase a little bit, but I'll talk about that in a minute. Some other budget considerations to update you on. The New York State Teachers Retirement employer contribution rate is going to be down next year at 9.76%. That rate is just set for us. And then when we report salaries at the end of the year, that amount is deducted from our fall New York State aid payment. So I'm telling you here what the expense was this year, which is a little bit higher than last year, largely due to those new positions funded by those grants. And then showing you what the trend has been for TRS rates over time. They use a 5-year rolling average to set rates every year. Surprisingly, I don't have the ERS number yet for non-instructional staff members. The contribution rate is up next year, 13.1% from 11.6% this year. Unlike TRF, which gives a percentage, ERS actually gives us a number and says this is what your invoice will be. I usually have that by now. So just for reference, showing you what this year's number was, $580,000, which came in a little over budget. So it's always an estimate. And then it comes in about November and you have to find the money someplace else to pay for it. Workers' comp, those rates are set in about a month or so. Unemployment projection, not sure at this time. Our expense so far this year has been just under $12,000. And then just noting the expiration of those 2 large sources of grant funds. Health insurance. At this time, it's early, but those health rates are looking like they're increasing 12.2%. Last year, it was 2%. It is above trend for us. Trend is closer to about 7.4%. So Ashley's working on incorporating those increases into some projected rates for next year. And you'll remember the fiscal cliff that we experienced last year with prescription drug rates because of the usage of high-cost specialty drugs. We implemented through the agreement with all the associations in the district a Prudent RX program, which I'll tell you we are the only school district in the region who have adopted that plan. So last year we had a 48.1% increase in RX rates, and this year we're looking at 13.1%. And twice last year I had to spend over $800,000 to the consortium to replenish our prescription drug reserve. So we're very fortunate that we're in a position that we're able to do that without charging the taxpayers for those funds. But definitely, this is working to mitigate those high cost claims.
So the 13.10 is because we have prudent RX.
Yes.
If we didn't, it would be much higher.
Yes.
It'd be at least double that.
Wow.
So, we have a healthcare trust meeting, Friday that I will be representing the school district at. There are other school districts looking at this. Some of them are going through negotiation, some of them are not going through negotiation. As we have said in the past, you're only one claim away from, almost fiscal disaster in some of these, situations. So people are, well, many school districts are envious of us.
And the prudent RX, how is that working? I mean, has there been any like complaints or, I mean, I'm sure you're always gonna get complaints, but that's just the
So
world that.
There were definitely bumps in the road. And Benetech, our third party administrator, has been fantastic about responding to helping people. You know, some people have tried to kind of fix the issues on their own, but they call us or Ashley, we can help them and connect with Benetech. But the biggest savings that the members received, if they were on a high cost specialty medication, they could have been paying a copay of $80 a month. Prudent RX had zero copay. It was only benefit members.
That is good.
And dental runs us about $120,000 a year, but no rates on that yet. Okay, some other considerations. We are or will be in negotiations with 3 of our labor groups. Fuel prices continue to fluctuate. Joe and Nick and I are looking at that. And then we have to consider, depending on the timing of the EV bus project, that our electricity costs could increase because of the charging that will need to be done, but the diesel costs could come down because we'll be operating 10 electric buses. And then this is just, again, repeating that of the, within the grant, we use $375,000 per bus. But the quotes are coming in above that. And those are all state contract quotes, so bidding is not necessary. We're looking at probably 4 propositions at this time. Approval of the budget. We have 3 board seats that expire the end of 23. And then the acquisition of 11 school buses. So there's one mid-size bus, 30 passenger, I think, and then the 10 EVs. And then the 3 SUVs and the 1 service truck with the plow and sander. So this will be a creative proposition that we'll have to write because, you know, we will reflect that we'll be receiving the grant funds, but the district still has to use local dollars to complete it. And then we will need a proposition for the EV bus infrastructure, which is considered a capital project, voter approval and DCD approval. Will be designed by the architects and engineers. Met with them today. The estimated cost is coming in at about $750,000 to provide the infrastructure for not just the 10 buses, but what we asked them to plan was give us the ability to scale it up, because in 2035, our entire fleet has to be electric. So we don't want to have to continue to go back in and dig and add more wire or conduit or increase our the panels that are their sizing for us. So locally, we'll be looking at about $550,000 for the cost of that project, because $200,000 of the grant funds can be used towards the infrastructure project. Well, what we will need to consider moving forward is, do we want to use reserve funds for that project? So we have a number of reserve funds we can look at, but we also have the capital reserve that we voted on and approved and funded a couple of years ago that got just over $5 million. That's also an option that we have moving forward. Yes.
Plus allocation, 75. right? And they're now being ordered.
I don't know that they really even considered what it would cost. It seemed very arbitrary.
My question is, as the prices of the buses continue to rise,
Yes.
as they know,
Yes.
do we know what rate they're rising and where we think they're gonna end up?
We don't know what rate they're rising at because it's different depending on the manufacturer, but one of the questions that we asked was, can we take the $3.75 million and only buy 8 buses? So that we don't have to use local dollars, and the answer was no. You get $375,000 per bus, period.
And my fear is obviously it's 9 today,
Correct.
2 months from now, it's gonna be 450.
I mean, all of these buses are on New York State contracts, and the contracts have a length. However, you always have the ability as a vendor to request a pricing. So, one of the vendors told us that they have been stockpiling buses because of the supply chain delays, so they can get us an electric bus quicker than they can get us a diesel bus right now. The other thing that we talked with the architect and engineer about is that they think our biggest problem will be on materials for the infrastructure, not necessarily the chargers, but all of the other parts. We're talking about 40 weeks lead time.
So these panels, whether we have a 1200 or 1600 amp panel, seem to be a problem in the supply chain right now. So that's what we got today from the engineer.
So I don't know if you've heard, NISBA again, at this conference on Friday, and I've heard it in other places, they kind of implied that because a lot of districts are having difficulty with this, that they may extend the deadline because everybody's having trouble. And if you show good intent and a plan that's it's looked at more favorably as far as extending some of these deadlines.
The other proof that we have that the EPA didn't talk with New York State or SEC developing this project is that we need voter approval for purchase buses. We can't secure voter approval until May. And our fiscal year does not begin until July 1st. So I can't even issue a purchase order until then. They wanted the purchase orders to be submitted to EPA by April 1st. It's not possible.
So they talked about letters of intent to satisfy this need. The EPA recognized this problem. Civil has asked for an extension or a variance. They've granted it to at least one other school in the middle of the state. We are waiting for ours, but it's highly likely that they are going to approve it.
It's likely.
Yes. So right now, civil you put in for September 1st,
I think it'll likely have to be
extending it.
extended again because we're trying to time it so that buses arrive when we're in a position to be almost ready to put them in service.
Correct.
Which makes sense.
Right. So we're dealing with, a lot of factors.
Seems like all the agencies at the top level, they're still, up in the air about all of it. They
Yeah,
haven't
well-
figured out how to execute any of it, even though they've did it a lot.
It's the same thing with the bus companies. It's NISBA, to my chagrin, knows very little,
Yes, they do.
and they have not explored it. It seems like they're learning most of this information from their member school districts. It's supplying them. But I can tell you that even Questar has gotten information, not up to date information. So we look at Peconic Hills, we look at Chatham, we look at Waynesburg as being recipients of this rebate grant as kind of leading the way. I mean, a lot of folks are looking and seeing how we're handling this. I will say that other school districts like Saratoga and Bethlehem, they seem to be moving ahead without receiving grants in these areas. We had taken a field trip up to see exactly what Bethlehem was doing. It's different than what we're doing. It's not just one size fits all. So we are going to have to spend a little money to get this almost $4 million grant. So
We don't get the grant money until after we pay for the buses, correct? So it doesn't really matter what the prices of the buses are, because we're gonna have to do it. We're still getting a $3.75 million bonus to get these buses, so. So the thought of, if anybody's thinking about, well, let's not get the electric buses, that makes sense.
the other part to this,
Where it comes into play is that we're gonna have to borrow that money. So
Oh, absolutely.
that's where.
so the other part is there are other, a similar grant that is going to be coming out. But the information we have at this time from EPA is that we're not going to be qualified, we're not going to qualify to apply for the grant. This was kind of a one-time thing. And they are going to be looking to give it to other types of school districts, not Conic Hills type school district. So in that sense, we kind of locked out. We're not going to be eligible.
We have a lot of balls in the air right now, but we're gonna keep working at it. I think I just give you a list of dates that are coming up. So kids, mark your calendar. Come back.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, right. So, and you have this in front of you as well, right? Have that to your calendar. And remember, April is a little funky because we have to meet on a Tuesday on our budget. But this actually, April 25th falls after the deadline for the property tax report card to be filed. So that's why we have to meet. And go down a little bit more. This is just one more time, giving you a look at the potential increases, keeping in mind that we've, got $1.5 million of budget initiatives on the table. About that. That was a lot of information.
First real crack.
Yeah. But it is quite a discussion. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, we're now the reports on. Report.
Okay, I have a lot we're going to talk about in executive session. It came back, so I'm not going to talk about that. Stuff. We're all set. Okay, I will pass.
All right. Okay, so now we have budget committee. Kevin Wesson.
Met last week, and we did review all the state aid. Did go through, I think, pretty intently the proposed budget initiatives. Furniture, milk cooler, through Ron's favorite, the sousaphone. Which is important.
I gotta look that up, John. What your first name?
Some of the reports that were sent to us were next, I forget the one that we talked about, but it's just so well done. Because some of the reports that we get or the requests that we get are just, we want this, or this is the cost with no explanation of the benefit of children, the school district. This one was exceptionally done. I wish I could remember that. Yeah. Excellent. But we did have some, I think, some pretty spirited discussions surrounding the EV buses and when you take possession of them. So we are looking at that and trying to work through it. But you saw the rest of the report, it's a work in progress of the time of year.
Board of Education member activity report. Anybody got anything? Anybody go to a game?
Yep.
You go to a lot of them. Yep.
Budget. I was able to catch some of the girls game over in Columbia Green. We have a live stream while I was working. Don't tell my bosses, but I did that. And I'll be a success then.
Naomi, that was really good.
I'm on the committee for Success Fest, so I've been attending those meetings every Monday. And, Joe, I'm hoping I can rope you in this year. I'm gonna keep working on you every year. And we also, yesterday, we, gave the cafeteria staff, a carnation, just showing our appreciation. So Ron helped the night before assemble them.
Put it all together.
Just so you know,
crap.
just so you know, some of your stuff fell off. Just saying.
Ain't no guarantee.
You did okay. So those are the two things that. Building departments, we have the elementary school. And Mary's not here, so that's you.
Mary's home sick.
Oh, boy.
So when you're talking about roping Joe into things, I'm still trying to rope into a mystery reader. We had our, February 6th was our, February March, Monday in March, and you know, Dr. Seuss theme, totally can do it.
Joe, I'll come with you.
It's fun.
All
I'll
right.
even get to a red and white hat to wear.
Oh.
That goes with all of us. I like that.
Oh, if you come in to read a book, you can wear a hat. You gotta give it back. Sorry.
It's so fun. It's fun.
Yes, so if you want to come in, we'd love to have you guys come in to raise our students. This week has been a busy week. We have had a lot of events, like Monday was our 100th day. If you go to our school website, you can see a bunch of our little kindergarten students with their shirts that they wore. I think one of our favorite ones was about a little student pushing a 100 buttons. 100 buttons all over his shirt. We've also had Valentine's Day. The PTO ran a fundraiser and ducks were given out yesterday to some of our students. And then we also had the Sylvia Center in cooking with our first grade, creating delicious veggie wraps. We also want to take time to thank our SREs, as it is National SRO Appreciation Day. So we'd like to thank Deputy Dunnert as well as Deputy McSween for all the work and service that they do for our school. With that said, I know we're on vacation next week, but we would also like to thank the transportation department because next week, I think it's the 22nd, is our bus driver appreciation. So thank you to them. So remember, Joe, beginning of March, we'll have another mystery reader. And we'd love to see you there. That's all I got. And we'll take anybody, I mean, I'm. And we'll get you hat.
All right, now we have high school.
So it has been a busy month. Our two student councils, both middle school and high school, got together and did Valentine's for veterans. So they put together Valentine's Day packages to send to some veterans. We did have a Valentine's Day dance last night for our middle school, which was very well attended. Bad choice in Nancy Byrne putting balloons on the floor because it just became a popping fest for somebody. The kids had a really great time. We have our 7th grade social success class is currently doing an anti-vape campaign. And so they've been working on posters. They've been doing research. They've had some people come in to talk to them about vaping and the harmful effects of that. And right now, set up in the atrium during the school day is like a poster panel so they can go through and then kind of pick which poster was the most well done. The two buildings, or one building, but the two different levels, we bonded together to do some counselor appreciation because last week was school counselor appreciation. So we had some themes of different dress up days and cards for counselors and things like that because I think that their job often goes unrecognized and they have some of the hardest kids and the hardest things that they're dealing with on a daily basis. So I think that they appreciated those things. Like it was mentioned already, this week is FFA week, so they came up with some different activities throughout the week. Dressing up like Miss Monaco for one day, blue and gold on Friday, and so they've been participating. They've got a door decorating contest that they are doing for that. In terms of academics, our registration for next year is just about done. Our school counselors pushed into all grades 6 through 11 to get them registered. So I started sharing initial numbers with departments so they could start looking at, what are the courses looking like, and so we can start building our master schedule. We do have our National Honor Society induction ceremony is scheduled for March 16th. And so those applications are due, I believe this week, and then the committee will review them. And then they will be notified of that.
What's the date?
March 16th. And then we do have our first community outreach event scheduled for March 23rd. It's going to be at the Rojan Library. And so you were asking about Matt Osterhaus. And so Fred is going to be facilitating a technology session. And so it's going to be open up to parents. There's going to be a registration form. We're going to get some food and then try and tie those all in, but kind of explaining to parents, what is Google Classroom? What is School Tool? What are some things on social media that you should be aware of? What are some things that you should be looking at, to help support your child both in and outside of school? So that's the first of 4 that we'll do between now and the end of the school
What's the
year.
date of that?
March 23rd from 5 to 7. 5 to 7.
At Rojan Library?
Yep.
We'll also have a virtual component, so folks who can't make it can still attend.
And then I think that's about it, because Sam wanted to talk about some of the other things on my list on the emails for Sam. So
Okay, thank you. Next up is construction and staff development.
Thank you. So yes, we are working hard on success. One of the best things I'm enjoying this year is Brooke McComb, a recent graduate, has come back and signed off this space and really has done a phenomenal job of working with our student co-chair, Owen Perry, and they are really well ahead of what I expected them to
Yeah,
do
they're doing a
at
good
this
job.
point. So doing a great job, and we're there to support them and looking forward to the event. And we are too. We could use more workshops for them. So if you have it, take your talent that you want to share, we really, really appreciate it. If you know a community person that does a community education that for lots more.
For workshops, for crafts, these are wonderful to actually have those graduates.
I'll check in with you on that first.
Yeah.
I'll get you there. The other big thing we've been doing is really working on our data system with the ideal of working through the MTSS process and building student portfolios of their progress through the years that they enter us our school in kindergarten all the way through high school. But we're really piloting this with the elementary school. That's a real nature of not only really taking on a lot of the intricate data work and programming that has to happen with that. And I'm very pleased with what she's doing. It's slow work, but it's coming. And I think we have a great resource for all of us once we build it. When the paper file, we build it. So that's been taking a while. That time you might hear it as branch design. The platform we're trying, but we're going to school. And John Dodge has been another help on this. And we're trying to get as much as school. So that's our student management system. So even if branch mounds ends up not being the thing for us. So at least we have the data and we know that we can access it. That's better. We're also going to look at what data profiles you can build within. We're working on that maybe during that couple of years to a place where we can evaluate. And The last thing I want to talk about is March is our last staff development day. And we are going to participate with Questar staff development day that day, and some of our teachers will be going off. Other teachers will stay on campus. The second level of the library that they're part of, among other teachers will be doing some virtual work as well as programs and cycles. That's really what the March staff development day is. What's happening in our classes and what are our needs for your lives and where do you our strengths as well as failures. And that's really the emphasis of that day. And the family is coming along very well. And Grant my pipeline will be there to present virtually for us to on the culture survey that has been given out as well as thank you.
Just really quickly, I just wanted to give a shout out to the communications team again. You have the Titan Herald in front of you that came to mailboxes this month, but I think you see the work that they've been doing on Facebook and on the website. I mean, they're pushing into classrooms and they are, really sharing a lot of those good work that happens around here, and certainly puts smiles on a lot of people's faces. Parents really like seeing that. So teachers are constantly contacting them, asking them to, come down and share what they've been working on. So I think they've been doing a really great job.
Henry.
Right here, couple of things, good. So we're really starting our annual review season. So we're starting to review IEPs and 504s and setting students up for success for next year. In addition, we are in the infancy of beginning to transfer our system, our ClearTrack IEP system for 504s into Frontline, which is more in line with all of the other districts so that we could seamlessly communicate with other districts. And we have other students who are moving to out of district placements or through Questar. And we're also able to communicate information with districts within our county and also within our state, because I believe we are only one of maybe 4 or 5 districts in the whole state that still continue to use ClearTrack. So we're going to make that conversion so that we're more in line with the other districts in the state. So that's it. We're starting that process, and we started that process this week. And it's something that's going to be implemented through the rest of the school year over the summer with our special education teachers training on this system, which isn't very different from ClearTrack, but it is a little bit different. So, and a lot of our special education teachers are familiar with that system. We welcome 2 new special education teachers, and they're doing tremendously well. They've been matched really well with mentors who've been navigating and helping them acclimate themselves to Taconic Hills, but heard nothing but positive and great things. So it's nice to see 2 new faces in our special ed department that are doing really well in the elementary and in the high school. We also began our discussion of creating strength-based IEPs and really making an effort to have these annual review meetings where we start about what kids do well, rather than sort of thinking about only about their challenges, but really starting every meeting with people who are attending to talk about the student in positive light, so that parents themselves can hear that their kids can do things that are tremendous. And then we can talk about what are the things that we can do to support them in order to be successful. So really making an effort to be positive and to have those discussions and working together collaboratively for the betterment of our students.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so the building's been a very busy place this winter. We have all of our basketball games, volleyball games, swim meets, pool parties, all of those types of things. And my staff's been doing a great job of just doing everything that they can to support those activities, concerts and all those things. So that's been really good, and that's been going well in the department. As far as weather, that's been very kind to us as well. It was almost 60 degrees today. So even though the price of fuel is up significantly, it's been fluctuating, but staying on the high side, the warm temperatures are helping us out. It's also helping us out in the area of treatment for the parking lots. So we've only ordered 2 loads of salt this year, which is much better than we have done the past several years. So all we can do is hope that it keeps on going the way that it has been, and come out on the positive side.
Sorry,
again.
skiers. Sorry.
Deal with it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bobby Joe.
So yesterday, our Leonard bus vendor brought down the international EV bus. A demo, Bonnie, Diane, and Joe came by, those are the little gift bags that are sitting in front of you, they sent over. That was a nice experience. They put the bus on the lift, we were able to look at it, underneath of it, get a better look at it in general. Ride, for those of you that missed that demo, we just were delivered today. The bus sales vendor brought us a Bluebird bus that'll be here through all day tomorrow. So if you have time, if you want to stop by, feel free. Josh can give you a ride around. It is there. They'll be picking it back up sometime Friday morning. But other than that, business as usual on the transportation. No, you can stop in. We're there. The only thing I ask is we've been a little short, so anything at like 1:45-ish would not be great in the afternoon. Josh is usually driving. And Norm hasn't been in this week, so we're a little short there. So we asked that maybe between 9 and 1 would be great. If you need to come at a different time, just let me know because we can make arrangements and even Friday morning.
Thanks, everybody. Any questions?
Joy of coming last, everybody's kind of covered it. The only thing I will mention though is Mr. Costa. They do accept anybody reading on the mystery reader. IT department's very strong participation in that. And
John, you
really
ready?
enjoyed it. The IT department has read books.
Please. Pam's not here tonight, but she did bring food, Chinese chicken. She said she doesn't have rice or whatever else went with it because they sold 800 of these today. But they're out of rice and whatever else. And we have the student liaison report, Samantha, we forgot that, so I apologize for that.
So, we started using the senior trip. The phones are one of that, you guys should take.
What's the one on that?
Really? Very for them, and then, 6, 5. Yes. And then Tom, we have, we're on that, I love that issue. There's one yet. The senior class did a carnation sale for Valentine's Day. We sold for 2 weeks. And we made a lot of money off of that and sold the grades 7 through 12. And a lot of us seniors helped yesterday and them out and stuff. And it was really nice to see like kids' faces and be like, oh my God, I got a flower. And there was like nice messages on them. So that was really nice. And then we're starting advisory again. We did advisory back in 2020 before COVID. And it was grades 7 through 12. And that year we had kind of gotten like we were with the teacher that we were like comfortable with, like we were comfortable with. And this year they decided to start it back up, but do it like randomly selected. So some of us students are a little, I think, weary about the teachers because there's a lot of new ones this year we don't really know. Some got put into ones that they don't know the teacher or anything. But so I'm just like going to an open mind, you know. It's a new thing to start and we're doing that every 2 weeks for like a half an hour.
That's awesome.
So that's all I have.
It was good to meet.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam.
Yeah. Oh.
And we have no old business. New businesses of first and second policy. About the service dog. So we pretty much just use the language that NISBA recommended. We do have a student here with a service dog, so we need to put this policy in place. So that's why we're doing a first and second read tonight. Did anyone have any questions after you've read it? Okay. So I need a motion for first and second read of policy 100-1. Kevin, motion, second. Ron? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. I need a motion, be resolved that the County Hill Central School District Board of Education authorizes District Superintendent Dr. Gladys Cruz to be the search consultant for the purpose of recruiting the superintendent of schools. And furthermore, reimbursement will be made to Questar 3 for any advertising expenses related to the process beyond the OLAS. Motion. Evan, second. Diane, any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Carrie's fund, you know that, right, Ash? Need a motion for the e-gift card from Target, $50. Motion. Evan, second. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Is there anyone for public forum? Additional items to discuss. I have a couple of things. Frank's service is to Friday.
Yes, it's Anderson.
Oh, tomorrow's the wait.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's Anderson 5 days.
And I know at their last workshop, we were supposed to get an absenteeism. It was supposed to be an absenteeism workshop, but then with the superintendent, Gladys coming down, that kind of pushed that to the back burner. So I wanted to do that again. So I'm going to try to get that scheduled. I'm not sure what the future looks like for workshops, but maybe I can slide that in somewhere. And I had asked Neil this question, and Sandra told me to ask you. So every year I go to these conferences, especially New York State, and I go to this one table, and it's always about, they have software that tracks our graduates. You know, what they're doing, you know, I'm interested in that stuff. I always I have a few handful that I still keep in contact with, even though they graduated over 10 years ago. So I always stay in contact. So, and I usually bring it back and he'll say, well, we have Naviance. I'm like, but I don't ever see the results of that. Like, I never see what our kids are doing. So is Naviance working for us, or is it not? Or do we need to get something different so that we can keep track of our students?
So, I would say I think Naviance is working as well as we, harness. So, we have a whole new counseling department, so that means a whole new training. We have a new guidance, counselor secretary. We have a full day of training very shortly. So, you know, we have a spoken sequence for Naviance. And that starts in grade 6. The components of it, and then it grows from there with the counselors. But there's room to grow as we bring in new counselors.
I mean, is there a way to, like, you know, touch base with these when they graduate? Hey, would you like us to keep in contact with you? Like,
yes, we could send any kind of survey we want out if they have given us a private email. So that's the biggest thing, is that they have chosen to give us. Other things we track in Naviance is how many colleges they applied to, which ones they were accepted to, which ones they were denied. That creates a really good profile for our friends to decide maybe this is a rich school, or this is the school I should apply for, or I see kind of those great. Students have gone here, maybe there's something about this school that is really a good place for me to have that. We also have the ability to create any surveys we want in that. Like, through their exit surveys, and we have done that. And our counselors have in the past used exit surveys, and also again create other surveys. I will tell you that Naviance is going through a retool themselves, and they will look very different in the fall. So they have updated. I feel that we need to evaluate another year of our Naviance. I've had a letter wrapped for a student, and I keep having to go back to the counselor because it shows that I have submitted it. I know that I have submitted it. I just wanted to make sure
switch that we noticed the other day when we were working with it. I have, 4 students that are, former graduates, went to college, got their 4-year degree, and out of the 4 or 5 we looked up, one was accurate, my son. The O'Neill's daughter was not accurate. Jessica Miller's son was not reported accurate, so there's some problems with that we're investigating. So, there's good, and I think there's things to work on. And we need to evaluate it another year, but we also really need the counselors to come on board with training. You're welcome. If I don't know anything else.
Okay, so I need a motion to go into executive session for negotiations. Kevin, second, Ryan. Any questions? For the students that came, thank you.